nature of this game. With We Play Expo going on, Steam has pushed out a lot of demos. Unfortunately, depending on who you are, you may not be interested in anime side-scroller / top-down game number 200,078. I did, however, find a few action games that looked pretty good and weren't under that genre. One such game we'll be discussing in this review is, and I hope I pronounced this one right, these names are kind of crazy, Fengshi Luoyang, or Luoyang for short. It's a new Souls-like with Chinese elements made by Keyframe Studios. I tried to find out more information about the studio, but I couldn't find anything on them. So I'm assuming that this must be their first project. The game is being developed in Unreal Engine 5. The player is thrust into the responsibility of being an agent of the Heaven's Will Bureau in the Wu Zhou period of the Tang Dynasty. Say that 5 times fast. Which, if I'm understanding it right, you're basically like Chinese ninja police. The game takes you from a sprawling palace to a zombie-riddled village to a mountainside monastery. As far as the settings go, the demo is very diverse. And let me just get on that for a second. I was extremely surprised at the size of this demo. I haven't even finished it and I'm like 3 hours in. Ordinarily in a game demo, you get to play one section of the game, then fight a boss, and that's it. But in this demo, I went to 3 different sections and fought 2 main bosses. Then after fighting the second main boss, I was dropped into another section to play through. I'm not sure if this is intentional, but it feels like I'm playing the actual full game and not a demo. But hey, I am not complaining. As with always with these reviews, I'll start out with the performance of the game. In the corner, you'll see the specs. Oh wait, no, over here. You'll see the specs of the PC I played the game on. For me, the game ran completely fine with no significant hitches, except for the occasional hiccup when starting a brand new area, but this only lasted for like half a second. I did have one weird glitch though, where the second main boss would be invisible when the second phase starts. However, this wasn't a huge issue because he would only be invisible when his dialogue started, when he would normally first appear. So you wouldn't have to worry about him being invisible and hitting you or walking around the arena and attacking you. The portal would open up, then you would hear him talking, but you couldn't see him, and then it would be like a few seconds later, then poof, he would pop in, and then the fight would start. The stages of Luoyang are fairly linear, with nothing really defined. Think of a more scaled down linear Sekiro. The 3 sections that I got to in the demo was the palace, the village, and the monastery. The palace level starts with you in a side village heading through the forest up to the palace courtyard, wherein you'll have to work your way up to the top of the palace so that way you can get to the other side, open the gate, and then get to the next section of the forest, where the final boss resides. The second level is basically Mibu Village from Sekiro, a dilapidated town overrun with zombies, hellhounds, and annoying monks sitting on rooftops hurling spells at you. This village is full of jump surprises, so watch your back. The third, but not final level, is the monastery, which was the most expansive of the 3 areas that I got to. You basically are starting at the bottom of the mountain and working your way up to the very top, where the temple lies. As far as the enemies go, you'll encounter a mix of different types. As I said earlier, the game feels like a mix between Nioh, Rise of the Ronin, and Dark Souls 3. Combat speed feels very similar to Rise of the Ronin and even has weapon drops in it, and armor drops. Honestly, I think Rise of the Ronin was a big point of inspiration for the game's loot drop system. It's very similar looking. One of the things I love about Luoyang that I'm starting to see more of in new Souls-likes is that you don't lose your EXP when you die. Now, Souls purists may hate this aspect, but it's something that I really hate about older Souls games, so it's more than welcome for me. When you spend your EXP on your stat upgrades, be warned, you can't respec, at least not in the beginning of the game. I haven't come across any kind of item that gives you the ability to, so once you lock it in, it's permanent. Stats are represented in 5 areas. Qi, which is your health, Wu, which is your attack, Ni, your defense, Xing, or Jing, sorry, not Xing, because it's not an X, Qing, your stamina, and Shi, your posture damage. Experience is gained throughout taking enemies, like always. One of the things that sets this game apart from other Souls-likes is the movesets. Different weapons have different movesets, of course, but the cool thing about this game is that depending on which bumper you hold, you can do different attack patterns. I'm not sure if that's in any other Souls games, but as far as I'm aware, there aren't any. There's the standard heavy and light attack combos. Yes, this game has combos, and then you can hold either the left bumper or the right bumper to do other things and abilities. Mixing all 3 of these different forms of attack can create some cool combos. It's something that really adds to the faster paced nature of the game over other Souls-like. An important aspect of combat is the breakdown breakdown mechanic. The enemy's spirit or posture is represented by the nodes surrounding the lock-on dot of an enemy. As you do damage, those nodes disappear, and when they are all gone, the enemy will enter a breakdown statue. In this state, you're able to do double damage to them, and it lasts like 3 or 5 seconds. So best thing to do is to get them down to just before your breakdown and then use your special attack. You also have at your disposal spirit attacks, which are tied to your D-pad. You start out with 4 of them. One gives you the ability to shoot out a flaming kite bird that homes in on the target and explodes on impact. The next being a spiritual stomp from the sky. The next one gives you the ability to calm down flaming meteors from the sky. This one's my favorite because it makes me feel like Madara. Unfortunately, this is probably the worst one because unfortunately the meteors don't home in on the target, they just hit where they're standing randomly. So half of them don't even make contact. It's just the coolest one in my opinion. Unfortunately, I never got around to trying the 4th one, but all I know is that it does some kind of a trap where the enemy steps on it and then it does something. I don't know what. Branching off of the spirit attacks, there's also the spirit blocks. Occasionally, mini bosses and bosses will do a special attack represented by a color, and then you'll need to execute the corresponding spirit block. As far as I got into the demo, I only got up to 2 different colors, red and blue. It's a pretty easy system to get the hang of. The problem is sometimes you just have a moment where you hit the wrong button combination to do the block. Fortunately, these attacks are pretty easy to dodge, so you don't have to block them to be successful. The benefit of successfully doing the block gives you some opening to do some extra damage on the enemy. Healing is somewhat different in this game compared to other Souls-likes, wherein instead of starting out with a certain number of flasks that are replenished upon hitting the bonfires, or in this case, lanterns, in this game you are giving healing pellets at the beginning of the game. The pellets replenish a decent bit of your health, and enemies drop them pretty frequently, so unless you're just spamming healing, you'll almost never run out. You are only able to find 8 pellets at a time, so that any that you pick up after that are sent to your warehouse, and then can be pulled out whenever you need them. But they're also auto-replenished from your warehouse up to the 8 cap whenever you hit the lantern. Okay, now switching gears, let's talk about the kinds of enemies you'll encounter. You have your basic enemies like swordsmen, mini-demons, dual axe-wielding grunts, zombies, monks, and various other enemies of that nature, depending on what area you're in. Now these enemies are quick to dispatch and do moderate damage. Some of these you really have to be careful though. They may do things like take you by surprise and can really wreck you if 2 or 3 of them get to you at once. Next you have your mini boss enemies, who are non-named, have higher health pools, and may require the special block moves I mentioned earlier. These enemies have a decent health pool and can take a bit longer to kill than you normally would expect a mini boss to take. So far, the mini bosses I've seen include the armored swordsmen, armored polearm wielders, and a surprising wolf monster. Finishing off the enemies, there's 2 main bosses that I fought. The first one being a spiritual lion of thunder. The lion employs lightning magic and quick leaping attacks that are somewhat quick but pretty easy to read due to the telegraph it does by crouching low before it does anything. There are 2 main phases to this boss, but not necessarily in the way that you normally are used to. Ordinarily, a second phase would employ some kind of a transformation and then the boss would get extra aggressive, but that isn't really the case in this one. Basically, all that really happens is the lion will roar into the sky and cause a mist to appear. Then it will pounce from different spots in the arena at you, and this really isn't hard to deal with. Even though the lion is hidden by the mist, you can still lock onto it, and you can see the tail in the background, so you pretty much always know where it's coming from. Now the second main boss was a bit harder. This corrupted monk, in my opinion, is a stamina check, because there are no perfect parries. You rely on your stamina to block incoming attacks, and the monk's attacks do decent damage to your stamina bar. I had a lot of trouble with him until I had to grind up more XP to upgrade my stamina to a decent level so I could actually survive some of his onslaughts. In the first phase of the fight, the monk likes to go into portals and strike behind you a lot. He's also will add lightning attacks to his staff swings. All of this is kinda easy to navigate, but it really took me about 5 or 6 tries to get the hang of it. In the second phase of the fight, the monk fully becomes corrupted and starts to use more magic in his attacks. Also, do be careful about his stop attack. He likes to do it fairly often, and unfortunately, it does damage you when it hits you. Ordinarily, when he does it, he will stop you and then slam you with the pole, which would be fine if the stop magic didn't also do damage on its own. And what sucks about it is when you get to low health, he'll use it on you specifically then, and that small amount of damage that it does will be enough to kill you. So if you're low on health, you have to make absolutely sure you're watching the magic pulses around your body. Outside of that, it's pretty similar to the first phase, aside from a more frequent teleporting attack that he does. The fight took me about 10 to 15 tries and really showed that this game desperately needs a parry system. There were so many times that I blocked an attack in a way that I knew could have been a perfect parry that I could have used to punish the boss. I implore the devs to add a system like this into the game at some point. Perfect parry systems are the best thing people can add to their action game. Okay. Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's talk about the general things that I didn't like about the game's demo. I've really only got about 4 issues, with only 3 of them really being serious negatives. The first one, that it's not really a big deal, but I'd like to see done. I wish that the stages were more expansive, particularly the first 2 stages. The third one, as I said, was a pretty expansive one and it took a while to get through. But the first 2 sections, the palace and the village, were pretty linear and contained. I felt like they could have done with adding some secret sections in them. Again, this isn't a hard negative, but it's just something that I'd like to see. Now for more serious things that I don't really like, as I said, the game really needs a perfect parry system. The blocking feels quick enough to where it feels like it would fit perfectly. I also don't like the fact that your attacks use stamina. I know that's something that historically is pretty normal in Souls-likes, but again, it's one of those things that I just don't like about them. I'm fine with dodges and blocks taking up your stamina, but I feel like general attacks really shouldn't use it. Also, running when not in combat shouldn't use your stamina either. Elden Ring fixed this issue, and I think more Souls-likes should follow suit with that. The last thing I don't like about the game is the fact that your upgrades are locked in and you can't respec for free. Again, I know that historically that's something that you can't do in Souls-likes, but Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, and other games have started to employ this feature where you can just reset your choices at will. This gives you more freedom, and I don't see any reason not to do it. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and slap a rating bow on this game. I'd like to give Luoyang a 7 out of 10. The game is undoubtedly fun and exactly what I love about certain Souls-likes. I'm the type of Souls player that loves faster paced combat and hates the roly-poly nature of other Souls games. Sekiro ruined me, I'm just gonna say that. Also, the fact that they have different ways to do combos in the games by holding either bumper adds a bit of personalization to the way that you engage your enemies. The game does need a bit of polish, but I'm sure it will be fine when it finally releases next year. Get in the comments, let me know what you think about the game, and if you plan to play it when it comes out, or that you would like to play it if it came out on consoles. Also, if you are a Souls player, let me know what you think about whether Souls-like should have free respec and parry system. I think it could make for a great debate. Now, real quick, let me preface. When I say parry systems, yes, I know Dark Souls 3 and I think Bloodborne does too. I know they have parry systems, but I'm talking about a parry system that's actually, pretty consistent, not the you have 1/10 of a second window to get the right parry. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like an actual, good parry system. Get in the comments, let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next one. Y'all take care. The combat speed feels very similar to Rise of the Rose.
What?
Oh boy. All right. Come on. You can get this right. There's the standard heavy and light attack combos, and it's something that really adds to the faster paced nature of this game. It's something that really adds to the faster paced nature of the game over other Souls-like. I'm never gonna get through this. I swear to God, I'm never gonna get through this. I cannot stop. Listen these words up.